Welcome back to another episode of the Uncorked Mailbag. And this week we're just going to get right into this because the first question is one that I think is going to cause a lot of drama if the situation comes to fruition. So the question is from his son. That's the social media handle. Don't ask questions. It's a big if, but if Aden Holloway actually chooses to transfer to Alabama, could the Iron Bowl of basketball handle it? And I really mean Iron Bowl of basketball Twitter. No. The short answer is no. I think that, and I'm speaking figuratively here, if this happened, I think Twitter would break. I'm already foreseeing what would happen because right now Alabama fans are backtracking very fast. All season, or let's say midway through the season, when Aden started to struggle, as freshmen do, it's hard to adjust. I mean, I'm not speaking from personal experience, but I would assume it's very hard to adjust from playing high school, any sport, let's not just say basketball, to college sports. And he had some very good games early on in the season, and then SEC play came around. He started to struggle. Every now and then he made a few good shots, but I think that his confidence was in the dumps after a few bad games. And it made me sad personally because I know that as someone that played sports, that can get in your head. You have a bad game and it frustrates you. Alabama fans had a heyday, and our 5-star recruit All-American, McDonald's All-American, was not playing great. They loved that. But now the tables have turned. When he wasn't playing well at Auburn, McDonald's All-American didn't mean much. 5-star didn't mean much because he wasn't performing well. If they pick him up, he's a former 5-star recruit and he's a McDonald's All-American, and all the things that they said about him when he was struggling throughout the season on their Twitter feed will be deleted. I have some receipts. I'll just throw that out there. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where he's going to end up. I don't know if anyone really knows, but I'm not going to try and act like I'm giving you inside information. My take on it is whenever a player leaves Auburn, I always want them to succeed. Unless they leave and start saying horrible things about the program, that might change my opinion a little. My thoughts on Aden are the cute video of them leaving for, it was either the SEC tournament or the NCAA tournament, I can't remember. And there's a little boy that screams his name and sees him before any other fan that is lined up to send the team off. And he comes over and gives him a hug. I don't know him personally. He seems like a nice guy, seems like a good guy. So no matter where he ends up, I wish him the best. Does that mean that if he ends up at Alabama, I want them to succeed? No. I'm not going to pray over his downfall because I don't know. I like him. I don't know how Auburn fans would react because when Alan Flanagan came to Neville Arena this year after he left for Ole Miss, the crowd wasn't that tense towards him. I don't know if it would be different if it was Aden. I have seen some stuff from Auburn fans on Twitter that are saying if he leaves to go to and I guess Alan, let me backtrack. Alan went to Ole Miss and followed his dad. So that's a different story. Aden going to Alabama, I don't know. I hope that he succeeds, but I do think that it would break the internet and it would piss me off because I've seen and had to read all season long how much Alabama fans enjoy seeing him struggle, which makes me sad for any athlete. But the fact that they're already flipping the script, oh, it was the coach, it was poor coaching, your coach doesn't know how to develop players, and so on and so forth. That is the narrative. Will that happen? Time will tell. If it happens, I can't avoid social media because that's my job, but it will probably piss me off a lot reading some of the things that will be said. Alabama fans are shamelessly changing the narrative. I wonder what would happen. And I don't know why he's leaving. He might be leaving because of players that are going to be coming in. You know, only the coaches know that. Only he knows that. He might be worried about playing time because of players that are coming in, and he might want to know that he's going to get X amount of minutes or be starting. I don't know. And you know, you want them to do what's best for them. You want the players to do what's best for them, for their family. And we don't know what that is. Everyone likes to act like they do on Twitter, but we don't. So the moral of the story, Twitter would not handle it. It would be a brawl. Alabama fans would think that they wouldn't let Auburn fans forget it, as Auburn fans would do if an Alabama player transferred to Auburn. So I'm not saying that this is an Alabama thing. Every fan base does it with their rival. I think that it would be awful. I think it would be miserable for me to read, and it would just piss me off because I've been reading all season what's being said. And I'm not saying that all Alabama fans have said that. I'm sure some have said, oh, his potential's still high. But the ones that were sitting back eating popcorn, watching him struggle, will be the ones rubbing it in the faces of the entire Auburn fan base. Again, We don't know if this will happen. Only time will tell, but I wish him the best wherever he ends up. And staying on the topic of Alabama, Jason asks what my worst experience with an Alabama fan is. And that was an easy answer. Dunaway. I'm just kidding. Dunaway really isn't that bad. He can be if he wants to be. And sometimes he wants to be. But he hasn't been. My worst experience, I can't think of one off the top of my head that has happened recently in my adult life. But when I was growing up, all of my friends were Alabama fans. All of my girlfriends in elementary school, middle school. And I don't know if a lot of them, it's because they're family. A lot of them probably went for Alabama because Alabama was the team that always won. But I was just always an Auburn fan. I don't know why, but when I was little, I just decided that I loved Auburn, and that never changed. So that was awful when Auburn lost when I was younger, because I was surrounded. A lot of my guy friends were Auburn fans, but all of my girlfriends, well, let's say 99%, were Alabama fans. So it was brutal going to school afterwards because I was a lone soldier fighting the war of Auburn losing a football game. This actually just popped into my head when I was saying that. I was at the Bama with my work the next round, and it was the Auburn-Alabama basketball game. Dunaway, very civil. I will give you credit, Dunaway. We were sitting at a table with probably, let's say, 15 other people that I don't know. I was the only Auburn fan there, only. And it was a very close game. So Dunaway reaches across the table and high-fives me, and he was like, good game, y'all just won. And it was, I can't remember if it went into overtime or not, but the restaurant stayed open late for us to stay there and watch the game. And I'm sitting at a table of some didn't care. Some were unbiased. They weren't huge Auburn fans, weren't huge Alabama fans. That was probably two of the 15. The other 13, Alabama fans. And to make it worse, they didn't know anything about the sport. So they were like screaming about stuff, didn't know what they were talking about when they were yelling about a foul that was called or whatever. Like, they didn't know the difference between offensive and defensive fouls, and that was just like making me even more mad. I was like, stop being so obnoxious if you don't know what you're talking about. And I was just already pissed off. So I got up and went and stood at the bar by myself. The restaurant's closed. We begged them to stay open late because the game went into overtime. So I went up and stood at the bar by myself and watched the game. And Dunaway, Brown, and Lance were very civil, and they checked on me. But that was probably the worst environment that I've been in after an Auburn loss, because I just didn't want to talk to anyone. We were going out after, we were going to the Bama after, and I was like, I can't talk to any of these people. Like, I'm not a good loser. I'm a bad loser. I don't take losses well, and I will be the first to tell you that. But that wasn't good. And then just social media after any loss, no matter who we play, that's just what social media is. I can't avoid it because of my field of work, which I love very much. After the Gravedigger, I didn't have much time to mourn because I was having to get content out from the game. So that was tough. Any loss is tough, especially to Alabama, because that's how the rivalry goes. Fans love to be obnoxious after their team wins. And I enjoy it every now and then too. But my worst experience was definitely at that table when I didn't know them either. So I couldn't say, shut up and stop doing this. Like, they were just doing it because that's just how they were. And I was about to lose my mind. And I couldn't lose my mind because I didn't know them. But that was rough. I think that Dunaway has a picture of me standing at the bar by myself. I'll try and find it or get him to send it to me, because I literally got up and I had to go take a few deep breaths and try and compose myself before I lost my mind. Okay, this question brought back a very funny memory for me. Most embarrassing wedding story. And this actually wasn't that long ago. It was probably, 5 years ago maybe. I don't remember. That's irrelevant. But I was in Michigan. For those of you who don't know, that's where I'm from. All of my cousins, relatives still live there. One of my cousins was getting married. So we go to Michigan for the wedding, and the only people that we know at these weddings are our family and maybe some friends if they've been friends of my cousins for a long time and they come around. But mostly it's like I'm hanging out with my sister and my cousins, and everyone else is basically a stranger. We do have a big family, so we have a lot of cousins there. I had a few drinks, and I go into the bathroom with my sister and my cousin who used to cheer at Alabama. My sister also used to cheer. And I do not know what made me want to do this, but for some reason, I just wanted to do the splits. I can't do the splits. I played soccer. I was not a dancer. I was not a cheerleader. I never did any of those arts. But I wanted to do the splits in the bathroom at my cousin's wedding. My cousin's the groom in this situation. That will come into play. Me my sister and my cousin are in the bathroom, and they're encouraging me because they're like, they know that I'm an idiot. So, like, yeah, sure, try. You know, you're not going to be able to do it. So, and I'm in a dress. We're at a wedding. So I just jump into the splits in my dress, in the bathroom, just on the floor. Oh, I think I take my shoes off. No, my shoes were definitely already off from the dance floor. Just imagine someone that doesn't know how to do the splits trying to jump into the splits. That's a little intoxicated. Okay, so that was me. So they're buckled over, dying laughing. I think they have tears in their eyes, and I'm just stuck on the floor. So I get up, and then the door flings open, and in walks a woman who ends up being my cousin, the girl that he's marrying, her mother. So the mother of the bride, who I had never met. She's like, what is so funny in here? What is going on? And I think that was when my sister and my cousin walked out, because they were like, they probably just didn't want to be associated with me anymore, because, you know, that's just how it goes sometimes. And I said, I can't explain it. I'm going to have to show you. And she was like, okay. So I jumped down into the splits again. Why? I don't know what had come over me. And I can't even remember what her reaction was, but I was just like, yeah, that's it. Like, I don't really know how to do the splits, but I'm doing it. So I tear my hamstring again. Then I just get up and walk out. She goes to the bathroom, whatever. So I walk out, and again, we don't know many people here. We know our family, maybe some of my cousin's friends, but not many. So I'm walking out of the bathroom by myself. I'm just like, whatever, I'm just going to carry on with my night. And a random, I'll call him a man, he was probably 30 something, I don't know, walks up to me and was like, so are you the one that knows how to do the splits? And I was like, how did this spread around the wedding so fast? I literally did that 2 minutes ago. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to, but I just tried. Yeah. And so it is like a rumbling around this wedding. It was like rumors in movies when a girl's walking down the hall and everyone's whispering and looking at her, and she feels embarrassed. I didn't feel embarrassed. I had no shame. I was shameless. But that was the situation. It was like everyone was looking and whispering and laughing and then asking me about it. And I was just like, yeah, that was me. That was me. And not to mention, I am the youngest of all of my cousins. My mom has 5, or is one of 5, and she's the youngest. So all of my cousins are older than me, and I'm the youngest of my siblings. So I'm the youngest of the entire family. So they all just look at me as kind of a little bit of a mess. So the night ends. My parents laughed about it. My knees are busted up. My hamstrings, I'm limping because my hamstrings are probably snapped. And then the next morning comes, and we are staying in Michigan at the lake with our entire family. The bride and the groom and some of our relatives stayed in the city that the wedding was for brunch the next morning. We got up and we went to the lake. We didn't stay. I think it was my cousin that came to the lake house and said that the mother of the bride, who was the one that I probably traumatized in the bathroom, was asking around the brunch, trying to identify who the crazy girl was in the bathroom. And I was like, do I write her an apology letter? This is her daughter's wedding day, and I don't know. She's probably like, who is this girl and why was she let in to this function? My mom has been crying, laughing for 20 minutes. She can't control herself. I can't control myself. My sister, my cousin, like everyone's just aware and thinks it's funny. And so my sister had videoed it. So my sister pulls out the video and starts showing them. My grandfather's like, what's so funny? And I was like, nothing. I fell down and everyone saw. Like, I didn't know what to tell him because he would have been like, what is wrong with you? And so my sister pulls out the video and starts showing everyone that was unaware of what happened and had not seen the footage. And my grandfather starts asking to see the video. And I was like, no. So we quickly changed the topic. I think that he forgot about it. And I just limped around the rest of the time that we were there because my legs were so hurt. But my sister had sent it to all of my friends. So when I get back to Auburn, it turns into this, I don't want to call it a tradition, but kind of a tradition of every time that we're out drinking, no matter if we're at a fraternity house, if we're in a bar, anywhere. Once it gets late into the night and I've had a little bit to drink, they'd be like, Taylor, do the splits. And I would always just say, okay, sure, why not? And then I would wake up and my knees would be bloody and bruised and very injured the next morning. But it was funny. My family got a good laugh out of it. And I laughed about it when I read this question. So it was a good time. I think my family thinks I'm crazy. They thought that before this incident and continue to think it afterwards as well. So it didn't really change anything. And it was a good time, good memory. The next question comes from Jay King. And this is actually something that my family and I, whenever we're at the lake in the summer, I do not know why, but if we're ever just floating in the water, this is something we always ask this question and we just go around and talk about it. If you won the Powerball, what would you do with the money? So I did a little research and I looked up the most that anyone had ever won from the Powerball because I'm being optimistic here, glass half full. If I won it, I would win the most ever, right? The most that someone has ever won was actually in 2022, so not that long ago, and it was $2.04 billion. Now, how much do you actually get of that after it's taxed? I don't know, but we're gonna say 2.04. So the first thing that I would do is not tell anyone because then everyone becomes your friend, right? And I don't want all these people coming out of the woodworks from preschool or whoever trying to, become besties because I won the Powerball. But some of the things that I say next would give away the fact that I won it. So I'd have to figure out how to disguise this somehow. I'm going to go fun first, and then I'll do some things that would probably be good for society. I would give a fat stack of cash to the Auburn Collective, a fat chunk of that money. That is the first thing that I would do. I would say upgrade the facilities, give Auburn a basketball only practice facility, do whatever you need to do. And then I would buy a box and Jordan Hare. That way all of my friends could come every game. If I wasn't using it, maybe some next round listeners, uncorked listeners could use it. But I just think you can't go wrong with that. Good business move, and I would always use it. And now we have little kids running around. They're my cousins, but I will call them my nephews. And so that would be a great environment for them to watch an Auburn football game in because they love Auburn. I don't really know if they know what Auburn is, but I'm putting it in their minds that they love Auburn. Then I would buy a private jet for a multitude of reasons. After we graduated college, a lot of my friends moved. Like I have friends in Dallas, I have friends in Charleston, I have friends all over the place. I want to see them more often, but flights are expensive, and if I just had my own plane, I would be able to go see them whenever I wanted. Obviously, that's still expensive, but with $2.04 billion, I can do whatever I want. Money grows on trees at that point. And maybe I could send it to get them to come to me if I wanted them to be here for a special event or something. And we could also use it for work. Think about how fun the next round crew would be on a private jet to Dallas for SEC Media Days this year. It would make our travel easier with all of our equipment. I'm sure my parents would love to use it to vacation. I'm sure my sister and brother-in-law. I'm sure my brother, everyone. Think about how much more comfortable it is flying private. No security. Yeah. So I would definitely do that. I would then give a chunk to my family, all of my immediate family members, because they deserve it for putting up with me for 24 years so far. So I would give a chunk to my family. How much? I don't know. My parents have been through a lot, so I would definitely give them some. I would ask my dad how much I should just put in to some sort of account. My dad is a financial investor. He does investments at the bank, so he's a good source to have in this situation. And I would let him invest however much he thinks that should be invested wherever it's supposed to be invested, because I can't just have it all sitting in my bank account, and yeah, that would just be bad. I would blow it all. And then I think this is if I actually won this today, which is unlikely. I live with two of my very good friends, and I think that I would just pay for our rent, like not make them pay rent. We have a landlord, so we all just pay our little chunk, however much our room costs. But I would just cover our rent and our utilities because that would just make everyone's life easier. And if I could do it, then why wouldn't I? And then my two little, I'm just going to call them nephews. They're my cousins, but I love them. Like, they are my brothers. They're 2 and 3 months, but I would start a college fund for them because college is expensive and I love them. So I would put money away for them to go to college with. And then I would get very involved with a charity. Which one, I don't know, but I would get very involved with something that I felt passionately about and help try and make the world a better place. Anyone that has a ton of disposable income, I believe, should at least try to do that. Even if you don't have disposable income, just put a smile on your face, be kind. But yeah, I would become involved with a charity. I would donate. But yeah, so I have a lot of things that I would do. I don't know how much I would have left over at the end, because a lot of these things seem very, very expensive. Oh, and one more thing, because I haven't spent enough already. I would get all of my college friends and I would take us on an awesome vacation. I would find a time that everyone's calendar was free, and I wouldn't tell them where we were going, and I would surprise them all, and I would just cover all of the expenses, and it would be like a reunion because we don't get to see each other very much, and it's sad. The next question is from Jay Hit. If I removed the next round, which is where I work, and if you haven't watched the show before, you are missing out. Check it out. Next Round Live on YouTube and all social media platforms. I manage all of our social media accounts, so I will be thankful if you follow us. But if you remove the next round in Auburn from the question, would you rather live in Michigan or Alabama? So as I mentioned earlier, I'm from Michigan. The majority of my family still lives there. But the thing is we moved to Alabama when I was 2. So I don't remember living there. I've been back countless times visiting family for holidays and whatnot. And we go to the lake up there every summer. The weather sucks. The summer, I do like in the summer, it stays light until like 10 o'clock at night, which I enjoy. But the winter is hell on earth. It's miserable. It's freezing. I don't want to leave the house. I'm a baby when it comes to cold weather because I was raised in Alabama. I do not like that at all. And like there are so many great things about Alabama. We are spoiled with the beaches that are close to us. I did not realize how nice our beaches are. They're the best. They're beautiful. So I can drive super close to a beach. The winters really aren't, they're bad to people that have always lived in the South, myself included. It will get to be 30 degrees or 40 sometimes even. And I'm like, oh, it's freezing. I need a parka and a ski coat. But they're getting into negatives up there. It's feet of snow. I don't think that I want that. And I'm used to the weather down here now. So I think that I'm acclimated, and I'm very sensitive to the cold when I go up there in the wintertime. And now all my friends are down here in football, the college football. I know that Michigan obviously just won a national championship, but the passion for college football in the South, there's nothing like it. People live and breathe college football. A Saturday in the South. I love it so much. So Alabama for sure. And now all my friends are here. I have family back in Michigan, but some of our family has started to move down here, which is so fun. So I have some of my cousins here. We get to go back up north to visit occasionally, but I would never, ever, 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 ever want to move back there. It is way too cold for my liking. And not to mention, so the city where all of my family still lives, which my parents lived somewhere different prior to us moving down here, but where they all live right now, it's very different. I feel like Birmingham's very modern and like built up, and it's just, there's not a lot to do. It's a very small town. Everyone knows everyone. It's not like Birmingham at all. It is the polar opposite. There's a Panera, which is nice. We get to go there sometimes, but there's just not a ton to do at all. So Alabama, easy answer on that. And then Jordan asked, what is your long-term career plan / goals? What I'm doing right now. I love my job. I love doing social media for the show, for the next round, that is. Dunaway, Brown, Lance, Rockstar, they're so entertaining, and they make my job easy. I love sports. I've always loved sports and wanting to do something in the industry. I didn't know what, and this is literally the perfect job for me. At some point, which I don't like talking about this at all, but at some point, they're obviously going to retire before me because they're older than I am. I'm hoping that I can continue working there. I don't know. I can't even think about that because it might make me cry a little bit. I guess goals. I would like to grow this. I would love to grow this. This is my new adventure. And I'm having so much fun doing it. It's me getting to see the other side of how things work. I'm still doing social media and editing and all that for this as well. Not to the extent that I am for the next round, but I'm getting to do a little sharing about my personal life, which I enjoy doing. I could talk to a brick wall for way too long probably. So now I'm getting to do the best of both worlds. I'm getting to be creative social media wise. One of my lights just went out, but we're just going to finish this because it's really late at night. But I'm getting to be very creative social media wise on that show. And then I also have full creative control over all things Uncorked, which is a very different side of things, but it's something that I've enjoyed being able to do a lot. I would like to collaborate with different people, meet new people, which is also something else that I really enjoy about my job, is the amount of cool people I've been able to meet, the connections I've been able to build. So building the next round and building this are my goals. I don't plan on ever leaving, but if someone forced me to leave, if this job just wasn't an option at all, I think that I would want to work for either Auburn basketball or Auburn football, the teams directly. Do what? I don't know. But I am so passionate about it. Something similar to what I'm doing right now. I like to be creative, and I can't sit down in front of a computer and do the same thing every day. So I like the aspect of traveling. You never know what's going to happen. Every day's different, and you're always on your toes. So I think being around the players, the teams, and all that kind of stuff would always be kind of a go, go, go mentality, which is something that I need to stay awake during the day. And that's going to do it for this week's Uncorked Mailbag. Thank you so much to everyone that submitted questions. If you already have one that you are thinking about submitting for next week, you can go ahead and drop it in the comments of this video. And I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to this YouTube channel, like this video, share it with a friend, and tune back in next week. I will see y'all then.